The howl did not sound like a wolf. It sounded like a child begging the night not to leave him behind. The blizzard swallowed every other noise as snow crashed through the pine forest, burying trails, trees, and hope beneath an endless sheet of white. Somewhere beyond the frozen ridge, something was dying. It had less than 5 minutes. By dawn, the storm would erase every scent, every footprint, and every chance of survival. Whatever cried beneath the snow would become another forgotten casualty of winter, a life no alpha would ever claim. A lone figure fought against the wind. Iris Ashwood pulled her threadbare cloak tighter around her shoulders as icy needles cut across her face. Once wolves had bowed before her as their Luna. Now even the smallest villages closed their gates when they saw her approaching. Still, she never ignored a cry for help. The sound came again, weak, fading. She dropped to her knees and clawed through the snow with numb hands until her fingers brushed against soft gray fur, a tiny wolf pup, barely alive. Its body trembled violently, and one frightened blue and gold eye opened just enough to meet hers before closing again. Someone had left him here. Someone had wanted winter to finish what they had started. Iris gathered the tiny pup against her chest without hesitation. "If the world has rejected you," she whispered through chattering teeth, "then come home with me. If you love emotional werewolf romance filled with rejected lunas, hidden destinies, unforgettable alpha kings, and families built by compassion instead of blood, stay with this story until the very end. Tonight, the future of every wolf pack will begin not inside a royal palace, but in the arms of the woman no one believed was worth saving, behind the falling snow." A pair of glowing crimson eyes silently watched Iris disappear into the storm with the abandoned pup. The hunt had already begun. Morning always arrived quietly at the edge of frost pine forest. The sun rarely broke through the heavy clouds, and when it did, its pale light reached Iris Ashwood's cabin, only for a few precious moments before disappearing behind snow-covered peaks once more. The little cabin leaned slightly after years of brutal winters. Its roof had been repaired so many times that no two wooden planks matched. Smoke drifted from the crooked chimney only when Iris had enough firewood to spare. Most mornings, she chose warmth for someone else before choosing it for herself. She woke before dawn, always, not because she enjoyed the cold, because survival demanded discipline. She chopped frozen wood with hands already cracked by frost. She collected clean snow for drinking water. She checked every trap she had carefully hidden between the pine trees. Some days, she returned with a rabbit. Most days, she returned with nothing. Still, she smiled before opening the cabin door, because someone inside always waited for her. "Mother?" A sleepy little voice drifted from beneath a thick wool blanket. "I am home." The little boy immediately climbed out of bed and wrapped his arms around her waist. Rowan, the tiny wolf pup she had rescued 12 years earlier, had grown into a gentle young boy with soft silver hair and unusual eyes that shimmered between blue and gold, depending on the light. He was thin, far too thin, yet he never complained. Instead, he always asked the same question. "Did you eat today?" Iris laughed softly. "I was about to ask you the same thing." He looked toward the nearly empty cupboard. "We only have enough bread for one. Then we shall share it." They always did. Half for him, half for her. Neither admitted they were still hungry afterward. Their poverty had become an unspoken language. Out the cabin, the neighboring wolves whispered whenever Iris passed. "There goes the rejected Luna. She still believes kindness changes anything. She should have left years ago, Some looked at Rowan with curiosity, others with suspicion. No one offered friendship. No one offered help. Iris never answered their cruel words. She simply lowered her head and continued walking. Rowan once asked why. "Do their words not hurt you?" She smiled sadly. "They do." "Then why never answer?" "Because pain passed from one heart to another never becomes smaller." The boy thought about that for a long time. Then he nodded. "I want my heart to become smaller, only for kindness." She brushed his silver hair away from his eyes. "No. I want it to become large enough to hold everyone." Those words stayed with him. Years passed. While other young wolves trained with claws and strength, Rowan learned different lessons: how to bandage wounds, how to calm frightened animals, how to carry elderly neighbors across frozen streams, how to split his last piece of bread with children who had even less than he did. He never questioned those lessons. He simply followed Iris. The villagers slowly noticed something unusual. Whenever arguments broke out, Rowan somehow ended them. Two hunters furious over stolen game would suddenly lower their voices after speaking with him. Children who had been fighting shared toys moments later. Even wounded wolves stopped growling whenever the boy approached. No one understood why. Not even Rowan himself. "I only listen," he once told Iris. "Perhaps people simply wish to be heard." She looked at him carefully. "No. There is something special inside you." "What is it?" She hesitated. "I do not know." But somewhere deep within her memory, a forgotten sentence echoed. "One child shall carry peace where warriors have carried only fear." She had heard those words years ago, before her rejection, before exile, before winter became her only companion. She had never understood them. Until now. One afternoon, an old traveler arrived at the cabin. His cloak was covered with snow, and his walking staff had nearly broken from the journey. "I have heard," the old man said, "that a healer lives here. I know a little about herbs. My knees no longer obey me." Rowan immediately helped him inside. He removed the man's frozen boots, prepared warm tea, offered his own chair. The traveler watched the boy silently. "You are very kind," Rowan shrugged. "My mother says kindness costs nothing." The old man's eyes became distant. "No," he whispered. "It costs everything." After Iris treated his swollen joints, the travelers reached into his satchel and removed an ancient parchment. "I cannot pay with silver, but perhaps this belongs with you." The parchment was faded beyond recognition. Only one sentence remained readable: "The Unity Wolf will never be recognized by strength, only by the one who teaches mercy before power." Iris felt her heartbeat quicken before she could ask where he found it. The traveler smiled strangely. "It has been searching for you longer than you realize." Then he left. By morning, his footprints had vanished beneath fresh snow. Rowan found the parchment resting on the table. "What does Unity Wolf mean?" "I do not know." That answer was true, but it was incomplete, because something inside Iris had begun to fear the truth. Far away. Inside the grand hall of the Northern Kingdom, Alpha King. Victor Blackthorn listened as 12 rulers argued around an enormous stone table. "The border wars worsen every year. Our bloodlines weaken. Every alliance collapses." An elderly seer quietly stepped forward. "There is only one path left." The room fell silent. She placed an ancient crystal upon the table. Within its glowing surface appeared the image of a silver-haired boy standing beside a humble woman. "The child," she whispered, "who unites wolves through compassion." Victor leaned forward. "Where is he?" The seer's voice barely rose above a whisper. He was never raised by kings. He was raised by the woman your world abandoned. Victor's golden eyes narrowed. What woman? The crystal shimmered again, for only a heartbeat. He saw her face, a woman with tired blue-gray eyes, standing in falling snow. Holding a small wolf pup against her chest, something stirred inside him, a feeling impossible to explain. Not recognition, not memory. Only the strange certainty that destiny had quietly waited for this moment. Outside, snow began falling across every kingdom and somewhere inside Frostpine Forest. Neither Iris nor Rowan realized that the peace they had built in silence was about to become the most valuable treasure in the world. The royal hunting horns echoed through Frostpine Forest before sunrise, not because prey had been found, because destiny had. Snow drifted lazily between towering pines as hundreds of mounted warriors advanced beneath black banners embroidered with the silver crest of the High Alpha. Every animal fled. Every bird abandoned the trees. The forest itself seemed to hold its breath. At the center of the formation rode Alpha King Victor Blackthorn. His broad shoulders disappeared beneath a heavy wolf-skin cloak, while his black warhorse moved with the calm confidence of a creature that had never known fear. Victor had crossed 3 kingdoms following nothing more than a prophecy. He expected to find a gifted child. He did not expect the strange restlessness growing inside his own soul. Captain Elias Thorne guided his horse alongside the king. Our scouts confirmed the location. Victor kept his eyes ahead. The cabin? Less than a mile. And the woman? They call her the rejected Luna. Silence. Victor had heard that title before, many years ago, a quiet hearing before the council, an accusation, a sentence, an exile. He remembered signing the decree without asking enough questions. At the time, she had been nothing more than another forgotten name among hundreds of political disputes. Now, for reasons he could not explain, that forgotten decision suddenly felt unbearably heavy. Inside the small cabin, Rowan carefully placed fresh bread onto the table. I traded the rabbit pelts. You should have kept one, he smiled. Old Mrs. Elwood needed them more. Iris sighed with gentle amusement. You always give everything away. You taught me to. She looked out the frosted window. No, I taught you kindness. You chose generosity. Before Rowan could answer, the birds outside exploded into flight. Then came another sound. Hooves, hundreds of them. The cabin trembled. Rowan stepped toward the door. I will look. No. Iris's voice came sharper than she intended. He stopped immediately. She closed her eyes. Years of surviving alone had sharpened instincts no ordinary wolf possessed. Someone important had entered the forest. Very important. She quietly reached beneath the old wooden chest near the fireplace. Inside rested a faded leather pouch containing the last symbol of the life she had lost. Her Luna pendant. She had not touched it in 12 years. For a long moment, she simply stared at it. Then she closed the chest again. The past has no place here. Or so she believed. The royal riders emerged from the trees. Captain Elias dismounted first. Secure the area. Within seconds, elite guards surrounded the clearing, not with weapons drawn, with disciplined caution. Victor climbed from his horse. The winter air carried the scent of pine, cedar, fresh bread. Then, everything stopped. His heartbeat stumbled. A fragrance unlike anything he had ever known drifted across the snow. Wild lavender, winter rain, moonflowers blooming beneath frozen skies. His wolf awoke with violent force. Mine, the single primal word, crashed through every instinct he possessed. Electricity raced beneath his skin, his chest tightened. A deep purr vibrated somewhere inside his soul. Impossible. The mate bond. He had spent decades believing fate had forgotten him. Yet the bond had not disappeared. It had only been waiting. Victor slowly lifted his eyes. The cabin door opened. A woman stepped outside carrying a basket of firewood, simple clothes, worn boots, loose brown hair touched by snowflakes, tired blue-gray eyes. She froze. The basket slipped from her hands. Logs rolled across the frozen ground. The instant her gaze met Victor's, a wave of invisible energy burst between them. The surrounding wolves staggered. Several horses reared backward. Snow spiraled upward as though the forest itself had inhaled. Iris pressed one hand against her chest. No. The forgotten warmth she had buried years ago surged through every heartbeat. The bond, it could not be, not now, not after everything. Victor took one slow step forward. So, he whispered, it was always you. Memories struck Iris all at once. A young alpha prince standing across a crowded moon festival. One brief smile, one unfinished conversation, then years of silence. She had believed destiny abandoned them both. Instead, politics had simply buried the truth, and Elias stared between them. Your Majesty, Victor barely heard him. Every instinct urged him closer. Every heartbeat demanded he protect her. Rowan stepped out beside Iris. He looked curiously at the towering Alpha King. You frightened my mother. Victor immediately stopped walking. The boy's voice carried no fear, only quiet certainty. Then something extraordinary happened. Every restless wolf surrounding the cabin relaxed. Growls faded. Tense shoulders lowered. Even frightened horses became completely calm. Captain Elias blinked. What? One veteran warrior whispered, My wolf. It stopped preparing for battle. Another lowered his sword. I suddenly do not wish to fight anyone. Victor looked at Rowan carefully. The boy had done nothing. He simply stood beside Iris. Yet peace radiated from him like warmth from a fire. The prophecy, the unity wolf. It was real. Rowan smiled politely. Good morning. Victor unexpectedly smiled back. The hardened soldiers behind him exchanged bewildered glances. None of them had seen their king smile so naturally in years. Iris noticed something else. Victor was looking at Rowan, not as a weapon, not as a prize, but as a child. For one hopeful heartbeat, she believed the prophecy might have been wrong about kings. Then another rider burst through the trees. Your Majesty! The messenger's horse collapsed from exhaustion. He stumbled forward, holding a sealed scroll. Victor broke the royal seal. His expression darkened immediately. Captain Elias read over his shoulder. The Council of 12 has learned the child's location. They are already marching. High Alpha Magnus Dreadfang has declared ownership under the ancient bloodline laws, Rowan frowned. Ownership? No one answered. Because every adult present understood exactly what those words meant. To the council, he was not a boy, he was a living prize. Victor slowly folded the letter. Then he looked directly into Iris's eyes. They are coming. How many? Enough to start another war. Iris instinctively moved Rowan behind her. You will not take him. Victor stepped forward again. This time, not as a king, not as an alpha, but as a man making the first honest promise of his life. No, he said quietly. I came here to find the child. His golden eyes never left hers, but I will stay, to protect my family. Before Iris could answer, a long, thunderous wolf howl rolled across the mountains. One, then another, then dozens more. The council had arrived. The first howl belonged to no ordinary wolf. It rolled across frost pine forest like thunder breaking through frozen mountains, deep enough to shake snow from ancient pine branches and silence every living creature beneath the gray winter sky. Then came another and another. Within seconds, the peaceful clearing surrounding Iris's cabin became a battlefield before a single sword had been drawn. Captain Elias stepped in front of Victor. "Your Majesty, they are closer than expected." Victor never looked away from the tree line. "I know." Rowan quietly reached for Iris's hand. "Mother, they are not coming because of me, are they?" She squeezed his fingers gently. "They are coming because some people mistake kindness for weakness." The boy lowered his eyes. "I do not want anyone to get hurt." Victor heard every word. Something inside him tightened. The prophecy had spoken of a child destined to unite kingdoms, standing only a few steps away. Victor saw only a frightened son trying to protect everyone except himself. A sharp whistle pierced the air. Dark figures emerged from this forest. Dozens, then hundreds, finally thousands. Armored wolves surrounded the clearing from every direction. Their black banners carried the crimson crest of Iron Fang Dominion. Behind them marched warriors wearing the silver insignia of the Council of 12 Alphas. The forest floor disappeared beneath an army. At its center rode High Alpha Magnus Dreadfang. His armor resembled blackened steel forged from volcanic stone. Long silver scars crossed his weathered face. His pale eyes held no warmth. Only calculation. Only ambition. He guided his enormous black wolf toward the clearing until only 30 feet separated him from Victor. So, Magnus smiled coldly. The prophecy was true. Victor folded his arms. "You crossed sovereign borders. I crossed empty snow. You crossed into my protection." Magnus laughed. "Protection?" He looked directly at Rowan. "The child belongs to the Bloodline Council." "No," Victor answered immediately. "He belongs to no one." A second rider emerged beside Magnus. Lady Celine Voss, elegant, composed, wrapped in expensive white furs. Her smile remained flawless. "I warned the council years ago." She looked toward Iris. "This woman should never have been allowed to live." Rowan frowned. "You know my mother?" Celine's eyes never softened. "I know what she represents." "A mistake." Victor's jaw tightened. "You helped exile her." "I preserved stability." "You destroyed innocence." "I protected kingdoms." Iris quietly stepped forward before either man spoke again. "I do not care what happens to me." She placed one protective hand on Rowan's shoulder. "But no one will touch my son." Magnus slowly dismounted. "Your son?" He circled Rowan as though examining livestock at a market. "No. He is the last Unity Wolf. He belongs to every Alpha." Rowan instinctively stepped closer to Iris. "I belong with my mother." Magnus ignored him. "The ancient bloodline laws are clear. Any child possessing a royal evolutionary gift becomes property of the council." Victor's voice became dangerously quiet. "He is not property," Magnus shrugged. "The law disagrees. The law was written by cowards." The clearing fell silent. Even the council members stared. Victor had publicly challenged the bloodline laws. An elderly council alpha stepped forward. "Victor Blackthorn, do you reject the authority of the council?" "I reject every law that treats children as weapons." Murmurs spread throughout both armies. Many soldiers exchanged uncertain glances. Some had sons, some had daughters. Suddenly, the council's words sounded less like justice and more like ownership. Celine noticed the hesitation. She raised her voice. "The Unity Wolf will determine the future of every kingdom. If one woman controls him, she controls us all." Magnus extended his hand toward Rowan. "Come willingly." You will receive the finest education, the greatest warriors, the strongest kingdom. Rowan looked at Iris. Mother, may I answer him? She nodded. The boy stepped forward. His voice remained calm. You keep saying what I can become. He looked at Magnus. But you never asked who I already am. The battlefield became completely still. I am not a crown. I am not a prophecy. I am not something to own. I am her son. He gently took Iris's hand. And I choose to stay with my family, for one heartbeat. No one moved. Then Magnus's expression hardened. So be it. He slowly raised one armored hand. Take the boy. Everything exploded. Council warriors charged. Iron Fang wolves transformed in unison. Massive beasts crashed through the snow toward the cabin. Protect Rowan, Captain Elias roared. Victor stepped forward. No, he stepped again. Protect. One more step. Everyone. Golden light erupted around his body. The earth trembled. Trees bent beneath invisible pressure. His transformation did not resemble any ordinary alpha. Ancient silver markings ignited beneath his skin. Lightning burst across the winter sky. The air itself seemed to split apart. A colossal silver-black wolf emerged from the storm, larger than any living alpha. His eyes burned like molten gold. Every enemy wolf froze. Some instinctively lowered themselves to the ground. Others whimpered despite themselves. Magnus growled. The first alpha's blood. So the legends survived. Victor answered with a deafening roar. The shockwave shattered ice covering the nearby river. Snow erupted into the air. Enemy wolves were thrown backward without ever being touched. One slammed into a boulder. Another rolled across the frozen clearing. A third crashed through fallen trees. Victor did not chase them. He stood between Rowan and the world. Magnus attacked first. His enormous wolf lunged with terrifying speed. Claws slashed. Fangs snapped. Victor met him head-on. The collision sounded like mountains breaking apart. Stone exploded beneath their paws. The surrounding forest shook violently. Council warriors rushed toward Rowan. Captain Elias intercepted them. Steel rang against steel. The battle spread across the clearing, short, violent, relentless. Rowan watched in horror. They are fighting because of me. Iris knelt before him. No. They are fighting because some people believe fear should rule the world. What if they win? She gently touched his cheek. Then remember this. They can steal power. They can never steal the kindness you choose to give. Behind them, Celine quietly slipped through the chaos. A silver dagger appeared beneath her cloak. No one noticed. Not Victor, not Elias, not Magnus, only Rowan. Mother! He shoved Iris aside. The dagger struck his shoulder instead. The world stopped. Blood stained the snow. Iris caught Rowan before he collapsed. No, her voice broke. Rowan! Victor turned. He saw the boy. He saw the blood. Something ancient awakened. His golden eyes became pure white. The sky darkened. Every sound disappeared. Even Magnus hesitated. The Alpha King's wrath had only just begun. Blood spread across the snow beneath Rowan, bright, terrible, silent. For one endless heartbeat, no one on the battlefield breathed. Iris dropped to her knees, catching the boy before he struck the frozen ground. Rowan! Her trembling hands pressed against the wound. No, stay with me. The boy forced a faint smile. I am all right, his voice barely carried. I did not want her to hurt you. Those words shattered something inside Victor. The Alpha King slowly turned toward Lady Celine. His glowing white eyes no longer reflected anger. They reflected judgment. The ancient wolf within him had awakened completely. Celine instinctively stepped backward. It was only a child. He survived. Victor spoke for the first time. You call that mercy? The wind stopped. Snowflakes froze in midair. Even Magnus stared in disbelief. Reality itself seemed to hesitate around the king. Victor took one step. The frozen earth cracked. Another step. Towering pine trees bent away from him. A third. The air rippled like glass. Captain Elias whispered, "The first Alpha's dominion." I thought it was only legend. Victor raised one hand. Invisible force swept across the battlefield. Every weapon held by the Iron Fang soldiers exploded into silver dust. Swords, axes, spears, nothing remained. Panic spread instantly. Magnus roared and charged. His massive wolf lunged with every ounce of strength he possessed. Victor did not move. He simply looked at him. The invisible pressure struck first. Magnus was hurled backward, as though an unseen mountain had collided with him. He crashed through 3 ancient oaks before sliding across the snow. He struggled to stand. His legs refused. Victor finally spoke. "This war ends now." Magnus bared his teeth. "You cannot rule frightened wolves forever," Victor answered quietly. "I never intended to." He transformed back into human form and walked toward the defeated Alpha. No triumph, no cruelty, only absolute certainty. You sought to own a child. You hunted a mother. You turned prophecy into greed. You have already defeated yourself. Royal guards surrounded Magnus. For the first time in his life, the conqueror lowered his head. "I surrender." Nearby, Lady Selene attempted to flee into the forest. Captain Elias intercepted her before she had taken 10 steps. She glared at him. "You serve sentiment instead of law." Elias calmly removed the silver dagger from her sleeve. "No. I serve justice." She laughed bitterly. "The council will replace me." "The council can appoint another advisor." He fastened enchanted restraints around her wrists. "They will never replace a mother's love." Selene's smile finally disappeared. By now, the remaining council alphas had abandoned their weapons. One after another, they stepped forward. The eldest among them bowed before Victor. "We were wrong. We saw a gift. We never saw the child." Victor looked toward Rowan lying safely in Iris's arms. "Then learn to see both," the old alpha nodded. "We accept your judgment." Victor's voice carried across the valley. "Magnus Dreadfang, you are stripped of your command. You will spend the remainder of your life rebuilding the villages your wars destroyed." He turned toward Selene, Lady Selene Voss. "You manipulated fear. You condemned an innocent Luna. You attempted to murder a child. You are permanently exiled from every recognized pack. No title, no influence, no followers. You will live among those you once believed beneath you." Neither prisoner argued. Some punishments were heavier than death. Behind them, Iris gently removed the broken arrowhead from Rowan's shoulder. The wound was deep, too deep. Her tears fell silently onto the snow. "I'm sorry. I should have protected you." Rowan weakly reached for her hand. "You already did. You gave me a home. You gave me a mother. I have never been afraid." Her heart broke all over again. Victor slowly approached them. Blood covered his face, his arms, his chest. Deep claw marks crossed his body from shoulder to waist. Yet he ignored every wound. He stopped before Iris for a long moment. Neither spoke. The entire battlefield watched. Kings, generals, soldiers. They expected a victory speech. Instead, Victor slowly lowered himself onto one knee, then both. The mighty Alpha King knelt in the blood-stained snow before the woman the world had rejected. His head bowed. "Iris Ashwood," his voice trembled. "I failed you. I signed the decree that exiled you without searching for the truth. I allowed fear to speak louder than justice. I cannot erase those years. I cannot return everything you lost. He lifted his eyes. Tears stood openly within them. But if forgiveness can still exist, I ask for it. Silence. Even the winter wind seemed unwilling to interrupt. Iris looked at the man before her, not the Alpha King, not the ruler, only a weary soul finally carrying the weight of his own choices. She gently reached forward. Her fingers brushed the scars across his face. You cannot change yesterday. Victor closed his eyes. No. But you changed today. A faint smile touched her lips. And tomorrow is built one choice at a time. She placed her hand beneath his chin. You stood between my son and the world. You chose compassion over pride. I forgive you, the ancient mate bond answered instantly. Warm silver light flowed quietly around them, not brilliant, not overwhelming, gentle, peaceful. Rowan watched with a tired smile. I knew, he whispered. You belonged together. The silver light drifted toward his injured shoulder. The wound slowly closed. The bleeding stopped. Healthy skin replaced torn flesh. Aten Elias smiled in quiet relief. The boy will recover. Cheers began softly among the Ashthorn warriors, then louder. Soon the entire valley echoed with hope instead of fear. Victor rose slowly and offered Iris his hand. This time, she accepted it. Not because destiny demanded it, because trust had finally been earned. Above the battlefield, heavy clouds broke apart. For the first time in many years, warm sunlight touched the frozen valley. Winter had not ended, but its longest night had. Spring arrived where winter had refused to leave for generations. Snow still crowned the distant mountains, but the valleys below Frostpine Forest awakened beneath carpets of wildflowers. Streams once locked beneath thick ice flowed freely again, carrying clear water through villages that had spent decades divided by fear. For the first time in living memory, no border guards stood between the neighboring packs. The old watchtowers remained where they had always been, but their fires had gone dark. They were no longer needed. In the heart of the northern kingdom, thousands of wolves gathered beneath the ancient Unity Oak, a tree so old that legends claimed its roots had witnessed the birth of the very first Alpha. Kings stood beside ordinary hunters, Lunas beside village healers, children beside warriors whose scars told stories older than they were. No throne had been placed beneath the great tree. That had been Victor's first command. Today, he had declared, no one stands above another. A quiet murmur spread through the crowd as Iris walked into the clearing. She wore no jeweled gown, no golden crown, only a simple silver dress woven by the women of every allied pack. Around her neck rested the restored Luna pendant she had believed she would never wear again. It no longer represented rank, it represented hope. Beside her walked Rowan. The scar on his shoulder had faded into a thin silver line barely visible beneath his tunic. He smiled at everyone he passed. Old enemies smiled back. Victor watched them from beneath the Unity Oak. His royal cloak remained folded over one arm instead of resting across his shoulders. Power had never seemed lighter. When Iris reached him, he extended his hand, not as a king claiming his Luna, as a man inviting his family to stand beside him. She accepted. Rowan stepped between them without hesitation. The three stood together beneath the ancient branches. An elderly Alpha from the council slowly approached. Months earlier, he had voted to claim Rowan as property. Today, he knelt, not before a king, before a child. We were blind. Rowan gently shook his head. You were afraid. The old alpha lowered his eyes. There is a difference. There is, Rowan smiled kindly. But fear can learn. The elderly alpha's shoulders trembled. No punishment Victor could have ordered carried greater weight than those simple words. High Priestess Ilara stepped forward, holding a circlet woven from silver branches and white blossoms. She looked first at Iris. Many believed Aluna's worth came from the alpha who chose her. She carefully placed the circlet upon Iris's head. The moon has reminded us that true worth comes from the lives she chooses to protect. The crowd bowed their heads, not because a queen had been crowned, because compassion had finally been honored. Then Ilara turned toward Rowan. She knelt so their eyes were level. You were called the child every alpha needed. She smiled warmly. I believe they needed your heart far more than your gift. A gentle breeze passed through the Unity Oak. Thousands of silver leaves drifted softly around the gathering. For a brief moment, every wolf felt the same quiet warmth. No commands, no dominance, only peace. Victor looked toward the horizon where villages once divided by hatred now shared the same roads. I spent my life believing kingdoms were built by the strongest leaders. He looked at Iris. I was wrong, then at Rowan. They are built by the people who choose compassion when power would be easier. The celebration continued long after sunset. Children from every pack laughed together without asking whose bloodline the others carried. Old rivals shared meals around the same fire. Musicians played songs that had nearly been forgotten. Some stories deserved to survive. Before our journey ends, there is one question only you can answer. If you had been Rowan, would you have forgiven the council after everything they tried to take from you? Or would some betrayals have remained impossible to forget? Share your answer in the comments below. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe, and turn on notifications for more unforgettable werewolf and shifter romance stories filled with destiny, redemption, courage, and the families we choose. Until our next story, may your greatest strength always be your kindness, and may the path you leave behind make the world gentler for those who follow.